Hello and welcome to another Smaulgld live stream. It is Tuesday evening, December 18th, 2018, and welcome Smaulgld Game Changers. Tonight's topic, are we in trouble? Can you feel it? We're going to talk about Donald Trump, the Fed, interest rates, stock markets, and so on. And there's a lot to discuss here, but first let's get to business of the day. What happened in the gold and silver markets, what happened in the equity markets. And we had an interesting sentencing hearing with Judge Sullivan for Michael Flynn. We're going to break that down shortly as well. But first, let's take a look at the gold price. The gold price went up a little bit. Gold price went up to almost $12.50, a recent high. And that was up about 0.25%, up about $3. And we're right now pretty much around that level at $12.49.80. Silver, our friend silver. Let's see how they did today, or it did today, or he did today, or she did today, or whatever gender pronoun you want to ascribe to silver, if that's even allowed. Silver price today went down a little bit, went down 3 cents, but that was good for a 0.21%, and it closed around $14.62, and currently it's at $14.61. So what did that do to the unsustainable gold-silver ratio? That is, should be much lower because silver is rarer than gold, and people just don't understand how valuable silver is in our lives. Well, the gold-silver ratio crept higher, over a 0.5 percentage point, to 85.57 to 1. Now, I've done a lot of shows on the gold-silver ratio, explaining it, justifying it for years now, and it's gone higher. And pretty much every silver pumper channel will tell you it's unsustainable, and they'll give you some nonsense about relative rarity and how it comes out of the ground at X amount, and silver shortage and all kinds of game changers, and why it's game over in COMEX defaults and so on. And JP Morgan's going to let it ride. All ridiculous stuff. And the other one on the relative rarity, I always mention that relative rarity can be a component of price. It doesn't have to be, and sometimes it doesn't matter at all. And I use platinum. Platinum's a lot rarer than gold. It comes out of the ground at a ratio of 10 times less than gold, and it's cheaper than gold. Oh, but silver's money. It's a monetary metal. No, it's not. Silver today is 70%, 60 to 70% industrial metal, and the rest is jewelry and a little bit of investment. It's not money. Was used as a medium of exchange into the mid-60s. No one uses it as a medium of exchange. You can call it dormant money. You can call it historic money. It has no monetary component other than whatever monetary component that gold has. It has a fraction of that. And gold does have a monetary component still, not historically because central banks hold it, but they're not the big buyers or holders of gold. The largest demand for gold is jewelry. Here's just a quick explanation I gave today. I was on, I gave the explanation today in response to a comment to an interview I did with Rory Hall over at the Daily Coin, and it's called Gold Silver Eagles Crash Land and the Parade of Horribles with yours truly. Now, I just want to give you a quick explanation of why I can justify the gold-silver ratio. I think too many people are still considering gold as money, period. It's not. It has all the characteristics of money. It historically has been money, but it's still missing the number one, not the number one, it's still missing one of the major attributes of functioning money, is that it is a unit of account, medium of exchange. It is not. Could be, used to be, isn't. And here's an explanation I gave. And people, they get mad, and they're not looking at reality. The gold-silver ratio wouldn't be as high as it was if silver had the same monetary component that gold has, if it was the same store of value that gold is. It's not. Now, when silver skyrockets. Yes, it spikes, but historically it spikes and it dives. But here's an explanation I gave to a guy, because he says, man, he says, AGAU man, Lewis, using your logic, are you telling us? I wasn't telling him anything. By the way, you know I don't tell you anything here. I give you information. I don't, in many cases, do not draw a conclusion from the information that I give. Sometimes I do, but he says, are you telling us that gold and silver are fairly valued? See, they get offended because unless you say gold and silver are set to skyrocket, they act like, well, you're okay with the prices being low. I didn't say that. I try to explain why they're low. But you see, once you get gold or silver derangement syndrome, you're convinced that the whole world is out of step and that your silver should be worth a heck of a lot more than it is. Even though for the last 6 years, the market has told you it has. Well, that's not the market. If it wasn't for the, if everything wasn't for something, I'd be a genius and I'd be a billionaire. But that's not the case. There are limitations. And it's the same with silver. If you know there are these limitations, whatever you think that they are, whether they are manipulation or whatever it is, and then yet you insist that silver should be worth more, why? And if it's not worth more, that means that the world doesn't share your view. The market doesn't share your view, manipulation or otherwise. But they get very, very upset, very testy that, are you telling me that gold isn't worth more or silver shouldn't be worth more? No, I'm not telling you anything. I'm showing you that it isn't worth more than it is, and it hasn't been worth more than it has been, and especially silver. That's just a fact. You can argue that it should be, or I'm shilling for the banks, and what about JP Morgan? What about JP Morgan? Okay, so he's saying, will the median price of a home in America always be 200 ounces of gold? I didn't even talk about housing prices, so I don't know how this guy thinks that I have somehow concluded that gold and silver are fairly valued and that the median price of a home will always be 200 ounces of gold. This is about as close as I can get to an explanation. Gold and silver are no longer neatly aligned to the value of the dollar or other fiat currencies. When gold and silver were money circulating as currency, there was a correspondence to fiat currencies. So under a classical gold standard, the countries set their fiat currency based on a unit of gold. When you had silver circulating, there was a correspondence that if you had a quarter, and there was 0.1017, whatever is in a quarter, there was some correspondence, maybe not exact, but there was money in your coin in the form of silver, or money in your coin in the form of gold, or the gold itself was the money, and it transferred the value. Today, it doesn't do that. People keep saying silver and money are gold, period. They're not. Just as horses are not primarily transportation, period. The world is on a dollar standard. Not because I want it to be, not because I'm shilling for the dollar, because it is. We're not on a gold standard. Things are not even measured relative to gold. I see all these charts. Look at the money supply and look at the gold price, and it's not matching the money supply anymore. Yeah, because the world doesn't value a dollar or any currency on the basis of an ounce of gold. There's some loose correlation. There's no direct correlation. And with respect to silver, there's zero correlation. So gold and silver's monetary values have been deeply discounted because in the case of both gold and silver, they are no longer used as a medium of exchange. What do you mean? They're money. Gold and silver are money. They're money. And you keep repeating that. They're not. And therefore, they don't carry a monetary premium. They may carry a commodity premium. They may carry a jewelry premium. They may carry some small investment premium. But apparently, silver carries less of that investment premium than gold does. That's why the gold-silver ratio has gone higher. And in the case of silver, central banks don't consider it a reserve asset. Oh, what about all those pictures I saw of Russia? What about those pictures? Banks do not keep on their balance sheets silver as a reserve asset. The fact that they still keep gold on their balance sheet does belie Bernanke's comment that, oh, it's just tradition. Well, okay, it's a monetary tradition, so you can't get around the fact that gold has a monetary value. I would argue it's not its primary monetary value. Its primary value is that people want it for jewelry. And that sounds blasphemous, but gold is money, period. Well, if you look at the charts on how much gold is used in investment and how much is used in jewelry and how much is eaten up by central banks, you realize jewelry is the big winner. Silver, the investment, not even monetary component, because there is none, because central banks don't even buy it. But again, even the investment amount of silver in the overall scheme of things, at best, is 15%. Most of it's industry and silverware and jewelry. So silver doesn't have a monetary component to gain any type of premium, whereas gold does. So I write, the price of silver trades in large part as a commodity rather than as a monetary yardstick. You want it to compare to a monetary yardstick. The world doesn't compare the gold and silver prices to a monetary yardstick. Gold also trades to a lesser extent as a commodity. Its greatest demand is jewelry, not investment, rather than a monetary asset. So I conclude it's hard to come up with a fair value for either gold or silver. What I do see is that gold has a premium over silver, and hence the gold-silver ratio is higher. Why? Because it has a monetary component. Central banks will buy it. That, when I say they don't buy that much and it's not a big deal, in that sense it's not. But the fact that they actually buy it and they actually hold it is a big deal, because it highlights that it has monetary significance. Now, if one central bank or two central banks started buying silver, then I would perk up. I would say that central banks are looking at silver. They're not, if anyone picks up this conversation in the middle, I'm saying central banks are looking at silver as a monetary asset. No indication that they are. But if they were to do that, that would change the dynamic. Then silver would start to get a monetary premium, even though they might buy it in small amounts. The fact that they buy it at all would be a big deal, but they're not buying it. And it's not a big deal. And that's why the gold-silver ratio, I believe, is where it is. And I've been saying for the last 5-7 years that it could go higher and will go higher. And all during that time, unsustainable gold-silver ratio. Silver's the rarest thing. You know, you can make these arguments about how valuable silver is to copper, aluminum, zinc, tin. They're very valuable. Cobalt, everything's valuable. Every element in limited quantities that's used in industry is valuable. But silver has no demand to be used in coinage other than the coins you buy and never use. When you buy silver eagles, you don't go and spend them, you hoard them. There is not a big demand for that. All right, so that takes care of our gold-silver ratio. Let's take a look at now the crypto prices. Now, the crypto prices have been moving significantly in the last few days. You have Bitcoin now at $3,664, up about 4%. Bitcoin Cash finally off the canvas at 103.04, up 15.86%. That's a big rise, but Bitcoin Cash has been trashed. Ethereum at $100.48, up 6%. Litecoin at $29.66. It was over $30, up 2%. Ethereum Ethereum Classic at $4.16, up 4.5%. Now, what we're seeing in the crypto space is now a mix. I like to follow a lot of these things. This isn't investment advice. Again, anything I tell you is all about general observation on the markets. I don't get very specific. But what I do see on the cryptos, the last couple of months, you see a lot of negative stories. The end of crypto, the bubble is burst, it's all over. This rate, hash rate, that. Some kid says it's going down. And when it was going up, all you heard is how it's going to take over the world. You had predictions of 50,000, predictions of 100,000, $1 million, or I eat my anatomy, all that kind of nonsense. So the price is going up. Everyone's an authority. Everybody knows what they're talking about. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's an authority. Everybody knows everything. Price is going down. Forget about it. It's going down. What else can I tell you? It's going down. Of course it's going down. It's going down big time. That's all you hear. You hear this all the time. Everyone's an authority. Everyone knows what's going on. But what I like to focus on is how the media tends to prioritize the stories. And on the way down, we have been seeing a lot of these stories about how it's over and you trot out. And I have been noticing, though, and again, I like to find out what's going on in the underlying market in cryptocurrencies, and where I got woke, I suppose, is I trashed cryptocurrencies all through the ride up in 2013. This is the stupidest thing I've ever seen. Money out of thin air. It was almost like a game to me, where you have the miners, and at the end they spit out a Bitcoin, and I thought, what a waste of energy. That's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. Yeah, I get how it all works and there's no double spending, but there's nothing there to spend. You're creating Bitcoin. What are they? Why would anyone want a Bitcoin? And when the price fell off the 2013 skyrocket from like $40 to $1,000, I thought, oh, yeah, because people have finally figured out this is the stupidest thing ever. Now, from 2013 to 2016, 17, the people that were working on Bitcoin, they continued to work on it. Money moved into the system, and it was still valuable in a sense that you can get $200 for it, $300 for it. And people would send it to somebody, and they would say they're sending money. I'm like, I'm not sending anything. Sending a bunch of digits. However, those digits are convertible into, for whatever reason, I never saw it. They said, well, it's money, it's permissionless, and you can transfer wealth. I was like, but there's nothing there. It's not like you're transferring a mug, where you could say when it gets there, you actually have a mug. No, you're transferring a bunch of digits, or you transfer 2 ounces of gold in the mail. You say, well, at least when it gets there, you got 2 ounces of gold. What do you have when you have a Bitcoin? Well, that's my point of view, and that's probably many people's points of view. But there is a market for Bitcoin. There continues to be a market for Bitcoin. You may say it's done, it's crashed, it's at $3,300. It's at $34. Well, actually, it's at $3,600 now. You can actually get 3,600 fiat dollars for it. Now, people say, well, fiat's worthless. Well, now we're going around in circles. Everything is worthless then. With that one Bitcoin, you can buy $3,667 worth of value, which means, I don't know, what can you buy for $3,600? You can buy a used car for that. I mean, there's stuff you can do with $3,600. It's not like it's a big game and it's a joke. Now, what's been going on the last year since the price has been crashing? You would think, well, the only thing about Bitcoin is the price. Wrong goes star. What I saw from 2013 to 2016, early 17, was a lot of money and talent moving into the space, and I'm thinking, well, these guys are morons. What are they wasting their time for? It's already crashed. Well, what happened in 2018 is not the price, it's the amount of money coming in from all these different entities. TD Ameritrade going to set up a platform next year. New York Stock Exchange working with Microsoft and Starbucks to set up a platform called Backed. Fidelity getting in, Goldman Sachs pouring money into startups like Circle and Poloniex, and lots of investment capital, hundreds of millions of dollars moving into stable coins that'll be used in these platforms. And that was not the big story of 2018. Everyone was focused on the price. Now, Backed is ready to launch in January, and they're also trying to get a Bitcoin ETF launched, sometime in maybe January or February. That's the latest they have to approve it. But even if they don't get the Bitcoin ETF, this ICE thing is the New York Stock Exchange and Microsoft and Starbucks. Now, they had a conference, and I reported on this conference, and it was not really widely reported on. It was a huge conference called Consensus Invest. It was right after Thanksgiving. Mohammed El-Arian was there from Reliance. They had all the big names there. They actually had one of the guys who was on the board of the New York Fed. He was interviewing the head of the SEC, who was talking about registering ICOs. Venture capital people were there, and companies were there showing off their innovations. And none of that, this was in the middle of the market going down, 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 and no one really seemed to care. But I look at this just like 2013. The price going down didn't stop all this money flowing in. Now, I get this email from Backed, they're touting this November 29th or 28th meeting that one of the representatives had at the conference Consensus Invest, and they're highlighting that we're going to institutionalize crypto. And this woman Kelly is the CEO. She's saying that there were other companies other than Starbucks that were interested. She said that they had delayed the launch because they had more clients than they expected. None of that really made any headlines. That's actually a big deal. But then I get this. Now, this is what I'm talking about, the press. So watch this. Bloomberg has been very, very negative on cryptos, and MSNBC, or whatever it is, CNBC, Fast Money, they were the biggest crypto pumpers. They started pulling back on their pumping. And in fact, we learned the other day, I heard that Brian Kelly, who had been pumping that left and right, said he was actually short Bitcoin. I don't know how that happens, where he's out there pumping cryptos and then all of a sudden he's short on it. But I see this today, and this is strange. Now, you know that JP Morgan and Jamie Dimon, they're the one bank that have, the investment banks that have said they're against cryptos. Others, like Goldman Sachs, have kind of indicated, yeah, we're involved, but through investments, we're not directly involved. Morgan Stanley says it's a good thing. None of the big banks have stepped right out and said we're doing it, but Fidelity has, TD Ameritrade, companies that are more concerned about losing their investment clients, not necessarily losing their investment clients, but losing a portion of their business where, hey, we're selling Apple stocks and trading bonds and everything. We don't have cryptos on our platform. If it ever becomes even 1-2% of trades, why should we not have a piece of that? So they're putting money into it. But this article here, JP Morgan says pros are ditching the Bitcoin market. And the article goes on to mention what you would think might be the case. The prolonged digital asset slump is scaring off institutional players. Now, first of all, institutional players are not really in this market. That's the whole thing I've been going on about, is that for the last year in 2017, when things went nuts and there were $4 billion worth of ICOs and the prices of cryptocurrencies from Bitcoin to any altcoin rose thousands of percent. Wall Street got very little, if any, of that money. They didn't get any of the ICO money. And I've been saying they want a piece of that. So the prices are back down. They can almost relaunch from where they are now in 2019. And we're seeing, I believe, the media kind of talking this stuff down, I believe, because they want to start fresh in 2019 and pump up another bubble. Now, check out what this article says. And it directly contradicts an email I got from the CME group. Now, here is what the article says. JP Morgan says that this guy writes this guy wrote a note for JP Morgan, a research note, saying that the equivalent gauge for the more widely used contract on CME is near the bottom of 2018 range. And basically, they're saying that their whole futures trading has been a bust, especially since the price went down, and now institutions aren't interested in this at all, and this is all heading south. And that's what, and here's another quote from the guy who wrote the research note. Participations by financial institutions in Bitcoin trading appears to be fading, said Nikolaos Pastor, whatever his name is. It sounds like a Greek or could be a Turkish name. Wrote in a research note dated December 14th. Key metrics have downshifted dramatically, he said. And then the other part of the article said that according to the data from the CME group, they're saying that their trading's at the low end of 2018's range. And therefore, institutions, which were never there in the first place, really in a big way, have now ditched their enthusiasm. But look what I get from the CME group today. Or maybe it was yesterday. Well, it was recent. They send me this letter. CME Bitcoin futures began trading 1 year ago today on December 18th. So I guess I got it today. Today's December 18th. Helping market participants manage their Bitcoin exposure through periods of change. With open interest on a steady rise. Now, what did the guy from Merrill Lynch say in the Bloomberg article? That things are on a decline. CME Bitcoin futures continue to see growing adoption, increasing liquidity, and rising trading volume. Well, I don't know what the guy at Merrill Lynch was looking at. Maybe he's looking at a different set of data. He did say CME data based on CFTC data. And I don't know why the CFTC would somehow get different data from CME and come to a conclusion that things are headed down. But this isn't just the letter. They then provide me with an infographic that shows this. Record open interest yesterday. Now, the Merrill Lynch guy is saying, or the JP Morgan research guy is saying, this is on the decline. And they had a record volume day on November 20th, which was probably the bottom of the market. So I don't know what to make of this. Either the JP Morgan research guy has different information than the CME is telling us right now. I don't know when he wrote his research report. But it just seems to me that Bloomberg has been very negative. They said, experts say Bitcoin's going down. And who do they quote? Buffett, Nouriel Roubini. They quote people, and Jamie Dimon, I think. They quote people that have always been against Bitcoin. And when the price goes down, they say it's going down. I don't know if there's influencing going on or not, but it's very interesting that the CME group, and again, they're touting up because they want people to be interested, but I don't think they made these numbers up. They're saying yesterday was a record amount of open interest and had a record trading volume day on November 20th. So I don't know what to make of it, but that's what I'm seeing. And again, I can only try to make sense of the information, but the information appears to be at cross purposes. Well, if you ever get confused, just fill up a Smaulgld glass with ice and pour your favorite beverage. All right, they're new. Remember, glass is almost as valuable as mugs are. Now, let's just do, before we get to the topic of, remember the topic was going to be, are we in trouble? Can you feel it? Well, let's get into what happened today with Judge Sullivan, and former National Security Advisor for the Trump administration, Michael Flynn. Now, Michael Flynn was supposed to be sentenced today for the specific crime of lying to the FBI. That's what he was there for. He wasn't there to plead guilty to conspiring with Russia, to committing treason, to committing other crimes, to not being registered as a foreign agent, to tax evasion, none of that. He was being sentenced for lying to the FBI, and Mueller, the special counsel, was saying, we recommend that this guy, Flynn, was like an authority on national security and stuff. He was an authority. That he was to be given a low sentence because they're recommending it because he's a good guy and he's been cooperative with us, and so there you go. Before sentencing, Judge Sullivan said, okay, well, we're hearing all this stuff about these 302s, this information. How did you come to the conclusion that he's lying? Send me all the documents. I want to see them all. So Mueller sends him half the documents. And then yesterday, Sullivan says, where's the rest of them? And then they send him some more. And it's interesting that normally when you do a 302, it's a contemporaneous writing of what happened at the meeting. Now, it's interesting that in most cases, most law enforcement, they're not allowed just to make up their own notes. They generally have to videotape them and take a transcript. And if they are going to do it, which the FBI doesn't seem to have that requirement, if they are going to do it, the 302s, they do them within a day or so. And I think there's a rule that they got to be done within 5 days. Well, in this case, it was very strange how they were done. Then there's a number of them. There's not just one. They seem to contradict each other. But the idea is that at some point during these conversations that Flynn lied, and that's what they got him on. Even though I think one of the 302 said the agents didn't believe he lied. We're not going to get into the ins and outs of that. So the sentencing opens up with Sullivan saying he had some concerns based on the filings. And he says, I can't recall an incident in which the court has accepted a plea of guilty from someone who maintained he was not guilty, and I don't intend to start today. That led a lot of people to think, oh, well, this judge is on to this fact that maybe they entrapped Flynn, and we're going to take a look at this. So what's the natural inclination of the judge is then to say to Flynn, were you entrapped? Did they entrap you? Do you want to withdraw your plea? And here you have a number of instances. Reporters saying Judge Sullivan asked Flynn if he wanted to withdraw his plea, meaning he might have been open to the idea of government misconduct, but Flynn said no. Once again, she's saying once Flynn said no, he asked him a number of times throughout the sentencing. He had nowhere to go but to stick with the deal, and it's separate. It's still separate from the question of how the government behaved in obtaining the plea. And Sarah Carter comes out and says Sullivan grilled both prosecution and Flynn and appeared to be imploring Flynn, repeatedly asking him if he wanted to withdraw his guilty plea or postpone the sentencing during the first half of the court proceedings. And Flynn did not withdraw the plea. They talked to the attorneys and came back and he said no. So it seems that Flynn wants this plea for whatever reason. I think he's just fed up with it. Maybe he figures they have other stuff on him. If he pleads to this and he's done and he does his testimony and other things, he's finally done with this nightmare. Now it's interesting. He said he lied, but the stuff he lied about didn't make sense for him to lie because they had all the information in a transcript from phone calls that they had him under surveillance, and he knew they had them. So it doesn't make sense that he would lie. It'd be pretty stupid. They open up the book and they say, did you say this? And he goes, I don't remember. And they say, well, you said this. He says, well, no. Now he's lied. I don't understand how that happened. But the judge really wanted to put the screws to Flynn and say, look, did these guys force your hand? And he says, do you believe Mr. Flynn's rights, this is to their lawyer, were violated by the fact that he did not have a lawyer present for the interview? And they said, nope. Okay. Now, Flynn should know better. Now, he may have thought that this was some kind of old boys network where they just stop by in the afternoon and ask you how you doing. Did you commit any treason? You don't need to talk to a lawyer. But that's what happened. And Flynn doesn't want to seem to go in that direction. You know, they ask him again, do you believe the FBI had a legal obligation to warn Mr. Flynn that lying to the FBI was a federal crime? And his lawyer said no. And now they really don't. They don't have to. But it's the protocol that they led him to believe that he wasn't really being under investigation. They were just helping him out with some of these leaks that they had seen. I just want a little clarification on some stuff. And then they asked him, do you think Flynn was entrapped? He says no. Okay, so it doesn't look like Flynn wants to pursue this. He's like, sentence me. Sentence me. I'm guilty. I'm guilty. I'm guilty. Then what's very interesting is Sullivan appears to have a real turn of events and decide this guy's a lying SOB, and he scolds Flynn and he says, you were an unregistered agent of a foreign country while serving as the national security advisor to President. Arguably, this undermines everything this flag over here stands for. Presumably there was a flag in the courtroom. Arguably, you sold your country out. I was like, whoa. I mean, this guy has had it with Flynn, and he's disgusted with him. Now, they go on a recess, and you're just thinking, wow, this is just unbelievable. This guy, Sullivan, people were thinking was going to throw the book at Mueller for entrapping Flynn. And Flynn's like, just sentence me. Just get it over with. Just whatever it's going to be, I'll take it. I'm out of here. And they come back from the court recess, and Sullivan says, oh, I feel really bad about that. Talking about his little outburst against Flynn. Says after prosecutor notes Flynn's conduct as a foreign agent ended in mid-November 2016. So he wasn't acting as a foreign agent while he was the NSA guy. And Sullivan further goes on and say, I'm not suggesting he committed treason. And remember, it's not Sullivan's position to say he committed treason. That's what the prosecutors are supposed to do. They're not charging him with treason. They're charging him with lying to them. And all of a sudden, Sullivan is off on this, Flynn, what's wrong with you? You're treasonous. And then he says, I'm not suggesting he committed treason. Sullivan added further apologizing for his remarks in the prior session. Now, this is very, very odd here. This doesn't make a stitch of sense to me, and I can't claim to figure it out, but I have some ideas what might be happening. So he apologized. You're going to apologize? Then they decide, yeah, we're not going to sentence you today. What was the point of having this meeting if they weren't going to sentence him? He pled to lying. It might have been a year ago, and they still haven't sentenced him. And now they're saying they're going to wait to give him time to finish fully cooperating with federal prosecutors. Now that would make sense, but there would be no reason to drag him in today. Now it's possible that they're trying to figure out what cooperation is he actually going to, is he going to give any testimony? Is he going to give any witnesses? It could be Sullivan wants to see. Okay, so why did you make this guy plead guilty to lying? And why did you reduce his sentence? In other words, what is he going to give you? And if he's going to give you a lot, well, then we understand. But if it turns out he's got nothing to give, I don't know. Then why did you charge him in the first place? This is all very strange. And so I sum it up this way. I put out a couple of tweets trying to figure out, because I'm really not sure what is going on here. All right, where are we? Did I not? No, here it is. What was not addressed today? This is interesting, and I'd like to get your ideas because I'm not sure. Mueller's delay in not turning over the 302s and giving them out in dribs and drags, heavily redacted. They didn't even talk about that today. Sullivan didn't even mention that. That's what people thought. The inconsistencies in the 302s weren't discussed. Obviously, there could have been a lot of questions over why on this day, why was a delay in writing the 302s, why on this day did you focus on this, and on this 302 you focused on that, why did one get produced in February, one in April, one in August, what's going on there? Why wasn't protocol followed? You just show up at the White House and expect to talk to him. Why didn't you tell him what you were really there for? None of that went on. Why were there multiple 302s? And also, there was another agent they redacted. Everybody knows his name. The interview notes were never provided because notes sometimes differ from what they actually end up in the summary. None of that seemed to have been a concern over Sullivan, even though he rushed them to get them those notes or those 302s to him. Instead, he focused on seemingly what was the bad behavior, the uncharged behavior. He wasn't charged with treason of Flynn. So, Flynn was not charged with any underlying crime. You have to remember that. This was all about lying to the FBI and not lying about Russian collusion, or you might think that it might have been something to do with it. But again, the judge went in the opposite direction. He was more focused on, and he did apologize, but he was asserting that Flynn could have been held up for treason and that he'd sold out his country. And the FBI, the investigators, the special counsel, they weren't prosecuting for that. There's nothing to indicate that they were going to prosecute for that. So for Sullivan to raise it up was the exact opposite of what people expected. They thought he was going to go after prosecutorial misconduct, which he didn't seem to be concerned about at all. He seemed to be concerned that Flynn was a worse guy than the FBI made him out to be. And his crime that was subject to today's sentencing, which has now been delayed, was lying to the FBI, not treason, not anything bigger than that, not being an unregistered foreign agent. And this seemed to disturb the judge in a visceral way normally reserved for crimes of moral turpitude. I'm not even going to mention some of the disgusting crimes that can be committed, but lying to your friendly FBI agent who comes over and says, hey, we're in the neighborhood, what's going on? Hey, we got this transcript, it says you said this, and well, I'm not sure about that. I mean, that doesn't rise to the level of the total visceral disgust that you might have. So I'm not sure really what's going on here at all, as they say in England. I'm not sure what's going on with Brexit either. So, all right, well, that does it for the news of the day. Let us get to the topic of the day, which is, Let's see, what is the topic of the day? The topic of the day is, are we in trouble? Can you feel it? Uh-oh. We got a moron here.
Presenting the distinguished international news commentator and foreign correspondent.
This has been an extraordinary week in world affairs.
No, I told Hillary Clinton that that's moronic.
All right. I'll give you a cheers for that. Now, we didn't mention what happened to the stock market today. Now, what happened today is not that important. What's happened in the last few weeks is important. We've been saying 2 steps back, 1 step forward, and now we're saying 3 steps back, 1 step forward. Stock market is now down on the year end. The Dow Jones was up a bit today, up a little bit, 82 points to 23,675, up 0.35%. NASDAQ in an okay day, up 30 points to 6783, up 0.45%. And the S&P 500 was essentially flat. It ended at 25.46. The dollar also fell a bit. Now remember, the dollar's been the safe haven in all this, which is nuts because it seems like it's the U.S. that's having the problems. We've got the shutdown looming, the Republicans versus Trump, the Democrats versus Trump, the Chinese and the Americans at each other. A lot of issues going on. The inversion of the yield curve and so on. But the big looming issue is Donald J. has been battling with Powell for at least 6 months for raising interest rates. Now, Trump has said in the past he's a low interest rate guy because, why? Because he is a real estate guy and you finance real estate deals, and the lower the interest rates, the better your financing terms are. And he makes a fair point that the Fed has been raising rates. They raised them once during the entire Obama administration, and they've raised them ever since he's been elected now 8 times. They raised them right after he was elected, and then they raised them 6 or 7 times since then, and the Fed funds rate is over 2% now. Now, that's pittance, you would say, but put that up against the Bank of England, the ECB, the Bank of Japan, and they're close to 0 or negative. And it's a point I made all along that the Fed would raise rates and wanted to raise rates to, in a sense, put U.S. bonds on sale, to create some demand, to put some underpinning under the dollar, to show that they're prudent. They're not only not doing QE, they not only don't have rates at 0, they're raising rates, selling down the balance sheet. Kudos to them. That's what they should do. However, it's all relative. If all the other central banks, like the ECB, is still at 0 and still buying bonds. Same with Bank of Japan, Bank of England's off the dime. I think they have a 1/4 point. But the point is, in my view, the Fed, and in many people's view, is they've gone far enough for now. Now, whether the Fed believes that they've gone far enough, generally when the Fed gets into a tightening cycle, they overshoot their mark. Always happens. Oftentimes they're raising rates when, in retrospect, once the numbers come out, they raise them into a recession. So it's possible if the Fed raises rates this time and then they want to raise one in March, maybe it'll turn out, when the numbers come out in July or so, that the first quarter of the U.S. was in a recession. I don't know. But that does happen. And they like to overshoot their bounds. Now, what Trump is saying most recently on the 17th is it is incredible with a very strong dollar, meaning, look, we got a strong dollar. You don't need to keep raising rates. In fact, he probably wants the dollar to go down just a little bit. Probably doesn't want it to be that strong. And with virtually no inflation, meaning why you don't need to raise rates to quell inflation if you don't have it according to the way they measure it. The outside world is blowing up around us. Paris is burning, and China way down. The Fed is even considering yet another interest rate hike, take the victory, meaning you've done your job, you raised the rates, we're head and shoulders above everybody else. Why do you want to flip us into recession? Now, some people ascribe malintent that the Fed and the other powers that be and all the central bankers, they want Trump gone. Well, we heard I think it's Michael Maher. What's that guy's name? Bill Maher, saying 6, 8, 12 months ago, we need a recession to get rid of Trump. I mean, they're that serious. They will do what it takes. Now, we're not saying that the Fed is doing that, but some people are suggesting that the Fed is playing politics, and they try to claim their independence. But here's one thing you got to realize about the Fed. They do have that so-called independence. Now, Trump could fire Powell what's called for cause, and there are ways you can impeach them. But that's, I mean, he would say, I'm doing my job, I'm raising interest rates. But the difference with these other countries' central banks, they're run by the Treasury. So, for example, China, if it decides it needs monetary policy on its side, the People's Bank of China will do whatever they want. They'll devalue the yuan, they'll issue credit, they'll tell state-owned banks to forgive loans. They have full authority to do what they want. And that's not because they're communist. That's just because most central banks, or nearly all of them, I think there's only one that is like the Fed, which is not run by the Treasury of the country, they can do what they want. Now, it's a bit tricky there. Actually, the French and the Italians and they really can't. They have to rely on the ECB, and that's causing a lot of strain too. Because what France and Italy would love to do is print their way out and into benefits, government benefits, and yet they're restricted by what the ECB does. But other countries can actually influence directly their monetary policies. So one of the things the ECB has done is taken away that sovereignty from countries who run their finances. They can't run their finances. They're run by the ECB. And I guess the bankers like this because you've consolidated control at the ECB, you consolidate control at the Fed, you consolidate control at the BOJ, the People's Bank of China. You're dealing with just a fewer number of big bankers. But Trump doesn't like any of this, and nor do the nationalists in Italy or France or anywhere else. They want to be able to... Remember, a lot of people that are for sound money are also nationalists, which is... It's not a contradiction. It's just that you don't necessarily get sound money if you're running your own finances. Because if a country wants to run its own finances, and we saw what Macron did the other day, he's like, oh, I got to give in, so I got to like pay these guys money. Well, you really can't do that if you're going to run afoul of the ECB's budgetary guidelines. And what you'll see happen, for example, before the United States had a central bank, like what Lincoln did, you just print up greenbacks and you just fund the war. You fund whatever you want through issuing your own currency. Now, you get into the argument, debt-based, non-debt-based. The point is, whenever government has control over money, or whether it's the Fed or not, they will always opt on the side of issuing more currency. And you can see Trump here is like saying, knock it off, you know, be a little looser here. Then today he said something very interesting. That's why I have the title, Are We in Trouble? Can You Feel It? He writes a direct note almost to Powell. And he says this: I hope the people over at the Fed will read today's Wall Street Journal editorial before they make yet another mistake, meaning before they raise interest rates again. Also, don't let the market become any more illiquid than it already is. Stop with the 50 Bs. He's talking, I guess he means the 50 basis points. Feel the market. Don't just go by meaningless numbers. Good luck. Now, basically, he's trashing them. He's basically saying economists have all these models, and they look at them, and they stand on their head, and they talk about inflation expectations, and the market participants, and whatever the other stuff that you used to put me to sleep listening to Yellen and Bernanke. And he's basically saying, open your eyes, trust your gut. The market's going down. You don't raise rates now. So that leads us to the question, will the Fed raise rates, and what impact will it have? Will they do a raising of rates? Will they do one of those, we'll raise the rates and then forward guidance, make it sound like it's one more, that's the last one and we're not going to do any more? Will they raise rates and say, wait and see, but, you know, things looking good so far, we may raise them again? Or will they not raise them? But before I take your comments, I did ask for a little bit of a poll here, and I'm going to check the poll to see where you guys thought. The question was, do you think the Fed will raise rates tomorrow? And last I checked, there was only 5 votes. I put it up 5 minutes before I got online. Oh, and I think it was 80%. It was 4 people said, yes, indeed, they expected the Fed to raise rates. And currently, the people said, I wonder if we got any votes. Oh, we got 12 votes. Yeah, only one person said no, so it's 92%. Do believe indeed the Fed will raise rates. Now, generally, if the Fed knows that the market expects an interest rate hike, which they do, they'll raise rates. They generally don't want to. They figure if the people in the market participants, if the committee believes that market participants expect a rate hike, then we will be highly accommodative. That's what they're going to do. If they think that everybody expects a rate hike, well, then they think, well, they've done their job. And if they don't want people to think, market participants, that they're going to do a rate hike, they will send out the people to tell them it's not going to happen. So probably, unless they want to shock the world, or unless Trump has something on them and forces them not to do it, you probably would expect a rate hike tomorrow. Of course, anything can happen, but the idea that most market participants expect the rate hike, now they may differ on what they expect the Fed to say about it afterwards, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of people thinking that the Fed is going to back down. If they actually believe and condition the markets to thinking there's going to be a rate hike, there's probably going to be a rate hike. But we'll have to see. In the world of Trump, things do or are different very often. All right. So let's see what you guys have been thinking. Are we in the live chat? Yep. Okay. Aquaculture's here. Feelings. I think my feelings have been retarded, similar to the price discovery feedback mechanism in the market these days. Ho, 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 and ha, ha, ha. All right. Okay, let's see. Hey, Aqua, Pablo's here. Crypto Shrugged Author is here. Hola, says Crypto Shrugged Author. And Pablo says, hola. Tenemos muchos españoles aquí. All right. Lewis is dumping gold and silver and pumping mugs and glasses. Sí, es la verdad. Por supuesto, hombre. Okay. Pablo, but I don't think he is dumping his gold, as it is a wise insurance to have, in my opinion, he says. Scott Wardell, as he says, he can dump all of the PMs he wants or Federal Reserve notes to me for the right price. I worry about a crash in the ceramics and glass. And you know, when there is a crash in glass, you hear it. That's for sure. The metal pumpers, says De La Ville, and followers are one giant echo chamber. That is clearly for sure. Ben Zedrex, are you a financial advisor? Absolutely not. In fact, nothing I say has anything to do with giving investment advice. I'm not interested in doing that. What I am interested in pointing out is what is actually happening and debunking some of the stuff that I see as just complete misinformation, complete pumping. I am a mug and glass, and now a glass pumper. That's my full disclosure. I am fully into mugs. Mugs are real wealth. Mugs can't go to zero. Mugs have been drinking vessels for thousands of years. They have mugs at JP Morgan. They got mugs at central banks. Okay. Let's see. An empty shell echoes the loudest. Yes, all hat, new cattle. Chrono Trigger fan. All right. I love seeing Chrono. Jeez, Lewis, giving it up. Haven't you heard the yield curve inverted? It's already game over. I got to get Chrono Trigger fan back on the show. You may not appreciate his blatant attempt at sarcasm, but that is exactly what that is. All right, let's see what else we got. Silver's going to get crushed, says Shark here. All right, blood in the street, cryptos. Actually, the last couple of days that they've been going, it's very interesting. They go up like today. What is it? Bitcoin Cash right now is up 20% on the day since we checked. Litecoin is now over 30. That's up 5%. Ethereum is up 12%. Bitcoin is now up 6%. These things, I mean, last year it went from like 7,000 or 8,000 to 20,000 in the month of December. It's unbelievable how they move. All right. Let's see. Yep, everyone loves their authorities. Give it up to the authorities. Pablo Pina, how is your puppy? Lucky is good. He's bothering me for a walk as I listen to the Game Changer. Yeah, a lot of people listening to the Game Changer tonight. You all are game changers. The bunch of digits are meant to establish. No, I get it, Aqua. I understand. But again, it's a self-made system. But it's not up to me to determine whether there's value in that. The market does that. There's enough people that think that Bitcoin is worth $3,200, $4,000. And you can, in a sense, you can't even get real money for them. You can get real fiat money. But I don't disparage fiat money either, because you can use fiat money to buy real stuff. So when people say, oh, fiat currencies are going to zero, they eventually die, well, so do you. During your life, you want as much fiat currency probably as you can handle. Everyone wants to be a millionaire. I don't understand this. Fiat currencies are trash. I just want to have a stack of gold in my basement. What are you going to do with it? You're going to preserve wealth. Okay, but you're going to have to spend something at some point. All right, the bunch of digits, once it's proven it cannot be established, your guess is as good as mine. All right. Let's see. Can't you get a live stream on a cell phone to take the dog on a walk for? I'm not suggesting you rearrange your life to do this, but I imagine you could. Chrono Trigger fan. The most exciting technical evolution in cryptos always happens during a bear market. That was my point. And now we saw in 2018 probably more money from the big institutions went in than any of the other years combined. When nobody's paying attention, the weekends have lost all their fiat. That's what I think happened. That's what's happened in the past. It doesn't mean it's going to happen again. Again, it's not investment advice. I'm just saying this is what I see happens in the crypto market. People assume, okay, when the price of a stock is down, it's generally relative to the fact that the company sucks. That the company is losing money, is expected to lose money, its earnings are down. When the price of cryptos goes down, when I say cryptos, I don't mean ICOs are more like stocks. Well, let's say just an individual cryptocurrency like Bitcoin. It's got nothing to do with any earnings or anything that's going on. It's just market sentiment or charts. So it's a lot different. It doesn't mean that there's not money coming into the system. Aquaculture, he was on a previous show modeling a Smaulgld mug. Who is that? Oh, yes, Lucky was. Yes, we had Lucky on. We've had a lot of the Smaulgld Game Changer dogs on the channel. Let's see if we can find one. Let's get Donald Trump's face off of there. We'll put up one of our friendly pups or friendly hounds that are either guarding or just enjoying the Smaulgld mug presence. Well, here's one. Cute little guy here. Look at that. Now that's a cute one. Huh? All right. When the big boy is involved, I feel that everything becomes corrupted. Yeah, that is true, De La Ville. But you know, there's an expression, don't fight the Fed. And while everything was corrupted, a lot of people made money off the, whatever bubble they managed to pump up. It's very tricky. You can say honest money. And if you think silver is honest money, and I'm not disagreeing that it isn't, but silver has gone down. I mean, that's just a fact. By the way, mugs and Mountain House. There you go. Ultimate prep right there. Smaulgld classic, super classic mug, and a big old tin of Mountain House. You get that and you're good to go. But let's see if we can find more pups. Now here's Pug Mug. This guy's cute. This guy, his owner, is a member of the Mug Club. He's got both mugs there. And he sent this to me, and called it Pug Mug. And that is a very fine looking animal. A lot of you guys have black dogs. Interesting. A lot of the pictures. I got another one. Well, the Lucky is a blackish brownish blackish brownish Doberman. There's Lucky. There he is, guarding his mug. He's enjoying himself there. And I got a lot of them, but they're not all in one place. But I do have so many of them. All I have to do is scroll through my images, and I just find dogs and mugs. Let's see if I got any more in this. I'm not going to go searching for more, but I think we got. Then there was Roger Henley made this one. This is piracy at its finest. Look at this. He did a Smaulgld knockoff. Look at that plastic mug. That's cheap. It's a very cheap knockoff. But he made it because he didn't want to pay the, I think it's because the shipping to Australia is very expensive, and he couldn't be without a Smaulgld mug, so he made one himself. So I do commend him for his initiative. Yeah, let's see if we got any more interesting photos here. Might have to end it there. Yeah, we'll end it there. Okay. Please keep sending pictures of your dogs and hounds with mugs. Very enjoyable. Okay. Problem with crypto. It says GS. Is many people spent big. They didn't have to buy Bitcoin. Well, that's true in any bubble. That happened in the dot-com bubble. People took second mortgages. I mean, I don't get it. I saw somebody say to take a mortgage, this was back in 2009 or 10, because it was a no-brainer on, I think it was gold or silver. It was on YouTube. The guy was telling people what to do. Never tell somebody what to do with their money. That's the stupidest thing. I mean, everyone has to make their own investment decisions. Even if something you think is going up or you think it's going down, that's not a sure thing, and a lot of times, most of these predictions are wrong, too. But, yep. A lot of people got misled that Bitcoin will climb to 50,000, 100,000. Maybe it would have. The big boys had never got their hand on it. Who knows? And who knows if it ever go there again? It might not. That's the thing. I mean, the cryptos are so speculative because you can't even model them out on earnings. I mean, gold and silver you can model out kind of on how much there is, cost of production. You can look at demand numbers. Even then you can't tell because the pricing is fixed based on the paper trading. But still, you can make some assumptions. I don't know how you value cryptocurrencies at all. Which is why I think they make the perfect manipulative vehicle for Wall Street. If they already were 20,000, to Chrono Trigger's point, Bitcoin is probably better today than it was a year ago. I don't know what that better means, but it's further along. It's got another year of history behind it. It's got more money. There's more exchanges. There's more things going on. So they can easily justify it going to 20,000. If the first and most popular coin goes down, now what do you mean by goes down? And Bitcoin went down, but it's still up. When you say goes down, you mean like ceases to exist? Now, that could happen, but why would anyone take a chance? Well, that's clearly, once you get burned, that generally, after the financial crisis, a lot of people thought, I'm never buying stocks again. After 1987, people thought that. So, yeah. Actually, it depends on why it goes down. If a coin goes down and then they realize, oh, here's how we fix it so it doesn't happen again, that would be a good time to buy, I would think. I can't stop this feeling anymore, Silver Fortune says. I've forgotten what I started fighting for. Now, there's got to be a song there. I just don't know what it is. Aquaculture, yeah, I think a lot of people, previous PM holders, when they thought about diversifying into crypto, was similar to holding PM. There's no shortage of crypto or precious metals pumpers. That's for sure. I'm hearing all kinds of, oh, well, if it wasn't for this and it wasn't for that, and I would have been right. Yeah, if you weren't wrong, you would have been right too. But that's why I don't get into predictions. Only general trends that I may see happening, forming. And again, I may see and base on a lot of things, but the world may not react in the way that, you think. If a lot of money comes into something, then maybe it goes up. It may have nothing to do with it. Just like a lot of people make the assumption that if, I'll give you an example. Let's say the cost of gold production goes below the price of gold, significantly below. And then miners shut down, they think that the price would adjust and go higher because there'd be a shortage. Well, not necessarily, because there's still a lot of above ground gold, and a lot of miners will still mine and keep up the production even at the lower than market price. So you don't really know what'll happen, but you can see it happening and report on it and say, look, miner costs are going up. That doesn't mean that there's going to be a shortage, and it doesn't mean the price of gold is going to go higher. You can want to believe that, and it may be true, but it may not be true. So I try to stay away from it, and then this is what's gonna happen. All right, what else? Diversification does not hurt. Yeah, include some mugs and glasses, says Pablo Pina. By the way, I have to let you know that if you're gonna buy the Smaulgld Classic or Super Classic mug directly from Smaulgld, that's where I write the note out, package it up myself and ship it out, bring it to the post office. Just go to smaulgld.com. I only do that for my fans. No, I only do that for the classic and super classic mugs. All the other products, the beer stein, the frosted mug, the Smaulgld espresso mug, you have to get through the store. The dog products. Oh, hold on. I actually have an announcement. I know the glass announcement was big. So the left is a super classic, the right is a classic. I send those 2-day priority, and you get them in 2 days, and shipping is included. But I forgot you guys wanted shot glasses, and I have delivered. Hold on. Let's find the shot glass, because we do now have shot glasses. Where are they? And I also have pet bowls. You guys asked for pet bowls, Smaulgld pet bowls. So let me show you the shot glasses are cool. You really want to get yourself, and if you're going to get glass, they're great stackable items. And if you have your Smaulgld shot, you don't have to spend a lot of money. You can have something, and some of you, I don't know, you take shots. If you take shots, then you're good to go. You can stack them. You don't have to buy a lot of them. But let me show you. What is this nonsense? It's asking me if I'm a human. I'm the owner of this store, Zazzle. I'm not a robot. Okay, there you go. My products. All right. There is the... Whoa, where's the shot glass? I made a shot glass. Well, hold on. Something wrong with my store here. Under review. I got to show you the shot glasses. They're up and running. Well, this isn't right here. There's something wrong. There's something wrong in the state of Denmark. Clearly something wrong. Got the pet clothing. This was supposed to be a big announcement, and it's fallen flat. There's definitely something wrong here. Let me just see if I go this way. All right, let's see. I think I'm all right now. This looks like the better interface. Here we are. Okay, there was something wrong with the store, and the store is now allowing me. I'm going to send you this link right now, and this is a beautiful, you can look at it yourself, but I'm also going to put the picture up on the screen so you can check it out. Here is the link to the Smaulgld shots, and I'll get a picture up there while you're looking at your Smaulgld mugs. But these are nice. You order them directly. They ship internationally anywhere in the world. They're 20% off tonight. And the shipping is handled directly from the Smaulgld store. I don't have to handle it. I don't have to drag them to the post office. But these are nice looking shot glasses. And so if you're in a foreign country, foreign to the United States, you can check them out. They'll be shipped to you. And they should arrive not too long. Let's see. Now, you can click on that link, or you can check this out. Too many pictures here. There's all these dogs I'm seeing with gone quiet here. What's happened? Oh, I know why. Sorry. Technical difficulties here at Smaulgld headquarters, but I figured out what's going on. There you go. I made it easy for myself, and then I made it hard. There you go. There's the Smaulgld shot glass. That's a new product. And also, we're talking about pets. Well, here is the classic Smaulgld pet bowl. Now, this one is really special because it's got the Smaulgld S, and it's got the Smaulgld logo on it, and little woofy. Well, it's a pretty big bowl. They come in larger sizes too, but I decided to get you this bowl if you're interested in a Christmas present for your pet. And there she is, and it's coming up on your screen in 3, 2, 1. Bingo. There is for Lucky or any other dog that is lucky enough to have an owner who wants him to be a game changer. Well, there it is. All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for... Oh, no, we're not done. I'm sorry. We got more comments here. Degenerate gamblers losing their shirts really a problem, asked Chrono Trigger fan. It's sad that their ignorance ended in devastating loss, but that's free market price discovery. Well, that is true. And, yeah, don't go online and listen to pumpers telling you some cryptocurrency is going to the moon. Bingo Chrono, says Aquaculture. All right. Let's see what other questions we've got. I think Flynn was threatened by Mueller, says De La Ville, that he would investigate his son, so he caved. Yeah, I think he was just anxious to get the sentencing over with. I don't think he wanted to pick a battle. And I actually thought he thought that Sullivan, the judge, would fight his battle for him. And that's why I think there's something very strange going on. Not only did Sullivan not fight his battle, he went after Flynn, which he really shouldn't have done because no one said... The prosecutor didn't go after him for treason. Meanwhile, Sullivan's saying this guy is he's treason and he sold his country out. And then he apologized. All right. Didn't take the judge walk back some of his comments after recess. Yes, and I did mention that. Maybe you're at a different point in the stream here. All right, let's see what else we got. Look at Venezuela. They run their own finances. That's right. Rich on oil, but poorly run. Yep. All right. You got any more questions? Oh, there's so many comments here. All right. I think I'm going to have to cut it off, but I just want to make sure no one has a Dogecoin. It has Dogecoin. I thought that was a lot of fun with that Shibu Inu dog a while back. That dog is still, that dog is still around. I look forward to the day I walk into a Lambo dealer and pay a mug and glassware. Yep. Medium of exchange. Mugs are real money. All right. I sold some Litecoin. A lot of talking here. If someone tells you what to do with your money, Pablo Pena, say you're financially licensed to do so. At least the most effective financial podcasters state this is not financial advice. Absolutely. I mean, I don't even know why people even think you would go online and listen to somebody and get financial advice. There's a reason why people charge for financial advice, is because that's what they do for a living. There's one thing to state opinions, but there's another to get on there and directly exhort people. You gotta buy gold now. See, the reason they get away with gold and silver is because they're not securities. Or you gotta buy this stock, or you gotta buy this crypto or this ICO. Now the problem with the ICOs is they are securities, even though they didn't know that. And that's why those are securities violations. They're on there pitching ICOs. And we're seeing they're going after a lot of them now. How about a copy Smaulgld mugs from China at less than half the price? Let's see. Dang, shouldn't have sold my Litecoin so soon. But you know what, Ann? If you sell, and I used to think that unbelievable how you get cut off here. Anyway, I think I've been cut off. Shot glass. Silver rounds. Yeah, I got cut off. Oh, maybe no, I'm still here. Yeah, I'm back. Oh, thanks for telling me, Pablo. Yeah, I don't know where I got cut off. Let me just see if I get any questions here. Roger was asking, what would I do if I went on holidays and couldn't live stream? Mug sales would drop. I either have to take the financial hit, or I'd have to come up with a way. Now, someone's asking about the size of that bowl. That bowl is 5.75 inches in diameter, 25 ounces of fluid you can put in there, 2.5 inches in height. Now, there is a larger one. I can have that one crafted, but I wonder if you can order just a... Yeah, if you add another 325, there's a larger one, and that one is going to be 7 inches in diameter, 3 inches in height, and 40 ounces. So, yeah, it's already available. I don't have to make another one. Just a bigger pet ball. So if you got a big dog with a big snout, wants to stick it in the bowl there, then you might want to buy the larger one for another 3 1/4. All right, let's see. Can use your cell phone. The better question, Roger, what are you going to do without the entertainment? Let's see. Shot glass. Yes, and there is a shot glass. And I think in the description I explain the benefits of the Smaulgld shot glass, because many people may be unaware that shot glasses are glass. I mean, that's very important if you have a shot glass. It's not quite a mug, but you know, it is glass, and they are stackable, and they're good barter items. You know, you could trade your shot glasses. What did I say about them in my remarks? You have to put a little remark when you create a product. I call them Smaulgld shot glass. In small stackable sizes, Smaulgld shot glass make the perfect gift or barter item. There you go. So pick those up. Pick up a few. I think I make 56 cents on each of those. All right. Wow, a doggy bowl. Lewis really listens to the crowd. There's a bowl. You make a lot of dogs feel special. They're going around saying game changer and whatever, however they bark. How can I stack silver rounds in that shot glass? Well, I guess you have to put dimes in there or something. Silver dimes. All right. All right. Well, let's take, before we go, let's just get a final look at what people think the Federal Reserve is going to do. If you haven't voted, go ahead and vote. And we'll be back again tomorrow night. What I'll do is I'll analyze what the Fed did. Okay, we got 18 votes, and only 2 people voted no. Will the Federal Reserve raise interest rates today? And it looks like pretty much the Fed has done its job. It has conditioned people, and I'm sure you guys are no different than the rest of the world, people to think that the Fed is going to raise interest rates tomorrow, which leads me to believe that they will indeed raise interest rates. I think that they're definitely going to raise interest rates, and I'll show you those results, and I'll leave that with you. Please check out your Smaulgld.com to get your game-changing mugs and merchandise. Become a patron. Make a donation in Litecoin or Bitcoin. But here are the results of the poll. Where are they? Where did they go? Oh, there it is. All right. Have a good night, and thank you very much, everyone, for joining me this evening. More sales.